Are you getting ready to take the FTCE 060 exam for elementary education K through 6? How are you feeling about Mathematics Subtest 604? Hi, my name is Morgan, and I am a certified teacher with over 8 years of experience and a test prep expert with Study.com. Today we'll be looking at some examples like you'll be seeing on the exam in the subtopics of knowledge of measurement, data analysis, and statistics. Now I want to mention you'll have access to an on-screen 4-function calculator, which I highly recommend that you use. Let's get you feeling confident for test day. Ready? All right, this question says, approximate the length of a jump rope. And you'll notice that all of the answer choices are 9, so what we're really looking at are the units of measure. So let's first see if there's any that we can immediately eliminate. So 9 inches, is probably it's less than a foot. There's no way we're jumping with a jump rope that's 9 inches. 9 miles, we can't even see that far, so it's definitely not in miles. So really our answer choices should be between 9 feet and 9 meters. Now something helpful to keep in mind is that there's approximately 3 feet and 1 meter, which means that this answer choice is equivalent to about 27 feet. So if we had to choose between 9 feet and 27 feet for the length of a jump rope, hopefully it's clear to see that 9 feet would be the correct answer. Okay, this next question says, Carl drives in his car for 100 miles. How far did Carl travel in kilometers? So we're going to need to know a conversion rate here between miles and kilometers. As a driver, you may or may not have noticed that 60 miles per hour is approximately the same as 100 kilometers per hour. So you could use that if you remember that to kind of get an estimation. Or the official conversion is that 0.6214 miles is equal to 1 kilometer. So we can use that conversion rate and set up a proportion. So I'm going to use 0.6214 miles per 1 kilometer and set that equal to our scaled up conversion. So we have the 100 miles. That needs to go in the numerator to mirror that 0.6214 miles. So I'm using my units there to match it up. And then we don't know the kilometers, so I'm going to use x. Now to solve a proportion, we can use cross multiplication. So I'm going to do x times 0.6214. And then this way I'm going to do 1 times 100. So I'm going to get 0.6214x, that's this, 0.6214 times x is equal to 1 times 100, which is 100. Now to finish solving for x and getting it all by itself, we have to divide both sides by 0.6214 on both sides of the equation. Those will eliminate, giving us, and then make sure you throw this into your calculator. Don't do this in your head, but we're going to get x equals 160.93, 93 kilometers, which would be our answer right there. This next question says, a teacher wants to check their students' performance on math assessments. The assessment scores are not skewed. That's going to be important. A few students have failing marks, and a few students have exceptional scores, but the majority of the students have average scores. Those are kind of just further describing the fact that it's not skewed. And we want to know if the teacher wants to assess the degree of variation in the test scores, which measure of variability is most practical in this scenario. So when a data set is not skewed, it just is talking about that kind of traditional bell curve. So a few people failed, a few people did really well, most are kind of average, and it's not like where you have kind of a oblong curve. That would be skewed, in this case skewed right. So when we're looking for a degree of variation, that's kind of talking about like how spread out the data is. So as we look at our answer choices, geometric mean, like if you remember, mean is more of like a center. It's an average type thing, and that's not going to measure the variation at all. We typically like to either use the interquartile range or the standard deviation. Those are a better measure for variation than range, because range only considers the minimum and the maximum, and it doesn't really give us a picture of what's going on in the middle. So our choices are really between these two. Now, we almost always want to use the standard deviation unless the distribution is skewed or there's some outliers or something like that, because the standard deviation is linked to the mean, which is really heavily impacted when there's skewed data. So as long as our data is not skewed and it's symmetrical, we always want to go with standard deviation. If our data is skewed, that's where we would pick that interquartile range. But since they said it was definitely not skewed, we want the standard deviation. All right, this next question says, identify the type of graph defined below. A graph that uses the same symbol to represent more than one tally and has a key. As we look at these options, I want to point out that the line graph and the bar graph are both graphs that use kind of an X and Y axis, and there's going to be like numbers on here to represent the frequency. So a line graph is basically just connecting dots, and a bar graph is going to be bars, but it's going to utilize this scale here on the y-axis or the frequency graph to represent how many things are being occurring, which is not the same as a tally. So we can eliminate the line graph and the bar graph because that is not what we want here. A tally chart would not represent more than one tally as a key. So the answer is going to be a pictograph because each picture, you might see like a house that represents like 100 houses. And so as we add more houses to the graph, that's each one is worth more than one tally in that case. So correct answer here is pictograph. I hope this was helpful and you're feeling more prepared for test day. If it was, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more helpful videos. And if you're looking for more ways to study, be sure to check out study.com. As a member, you'll get access to short targeted video lessons, additional study materials, and hundreds of practice questions like the ones we just went over. We'd love to hear from you, so be sure to let us know what else you need to feel prepared for test day. Let us know your suggestions, questions, and even come back and let us know how you did. Study well and good luck on your test.